All right, this is part 12 of the mouth of voice of God say about his word. Pray. Uh, 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 7. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. 1 Kings chapter 22 verse 4. And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Wilt thou go with me to battle to Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 7. And he went and sent to Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, saying, The king of Moab hath rebelled against me. Wilt thou go with me against Moab to battle? And he said, I will go up. I am as thou art, my people as thy people, and my horses as thy horses. Pages 235. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 8. And he said, Which way shall we go up? And he answered, The way through the wilderness of Edom. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 9. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they fetched a compass of 7 days' journey. And there was no water for the host, and for the cattle that followed them. Let's read that again. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 9. So the king of Israel went, and the king of Judah, and the king of Edom, and they fetched a compass of 7 days' journey. And there was no water for the host, and for the cattle that followed them. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 10. And the king of Israel said, Alas, that the Lord hath called these three kings together, to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Proverbs chapter 19 verse 3. The foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Proverbs 19 verse 3 again. The foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Psalms chapter 37 verse 7. Rest in the Lord, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him, who prospereth in the way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Page 236. Isaiah chapter 8:21. And they shall pass through it, hardly be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall be hungry, they shall fret themselves, and curse their king, and their God, and look upward, and look upward. 2 Kings chapter 3:11. But Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of the Lord, that we may inquire of the Lord by him? And one of the king of Israel's servants answered and said, Here is Elisha, the son of Shaphat, which poured water on the hands of Elijah. Amos chapter 3 verse 7. Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Genesis chapter 6 verse 13. And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. What the mouth of voice of God say about his word, pray. Daniel chapter 9 verse 22. And he informed me and talked with me and said, O Daniel, I am now come forth to give thee skill and understanding. Daniel chapter 9 verse 23. At the beginning of thy supplications the commandment came forth, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter, and consider the vision. Daniel chapter 9 verse 24. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression, and to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, and to bring in everlasting righteousness, and to seal up division and prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. Page 238. Page 238. Daniel chapter 9:25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks, and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, even in troublous times. Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. Daniel chapter 9, verse 26. And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Isaiah chapter 53 verse 8. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. Page 239. Daniel chapter 9 verse 27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation, and that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. Psalm chapter 55 verse 2. Attend unto me, and hear me. I mourn in my complaint, and make a noise. Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Jeremiah chapter 9, verse 23. Thus saith the Lord, let not the wise man glory in his wisdom, neither let the mighty man glory in his might. Let not the rich man glory in his riches. Romans chapter 1, 22. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. All right, page 240. Page 240. Okay. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 6. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. Be careful for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known unto God. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3. Commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. Matthew chapter 6, verse 25. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body, what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Psalms chapter 55, verse 22. Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved. Page 241. Psalms 37:24. Though he fall, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord upholdeth him with his hand. Micah chapter 7, verse 8. Rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, I shall arise. When I sit in darkness, the Lord shall be a light unto me. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 9. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. That's Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 1. The preparations of the heart in man, and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 12. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 12. And Jehoshaphat said, the word of the Lord is with him. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat and the king of Edom went down to him. Page 242. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 13. And Elijah said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father, and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord thy God, for the Lord hath called these three kings together, to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Again, 2 Kings chapter 3:13. And Elijah said unto the king of Israel, what have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father, and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these three kings together, to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Judges chapter 10, verse 14. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 13. And Elijah said unto the king of Israel, What have I to do with thee? Get thee to the prophets of thy father, and to the prophets of thy mother. And the king of Israel said unto him, Nay, for the Lord hath called these 3 kings together, to deliver them into the hand of Moab. Okay. Page 243. Ruth chapter 1 verse 15. And she said, Behold, thy sister-in-law is gone back unto her people, and unto her gods. Return thou after thy sister-in-law. Joshua chapter 24 verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Genesis chapter 18 verse 19. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Page 244. Isaiah chapter 51 verse 7. Okay. Isaiah chapter 54. Isaiah chapter 51 verse 7. Page 244. Hearken, Isaiah 51 verse 7. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be ye afraid of their ravelings. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Joshua chapter 24 verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Okay, page 245. Genesis chapter 18, verse 19. For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Isaiah chapter 51 verse 7. Hearken unto me, ye that know righteousness, the people in whose heart is my law. Fear ye not the reproach of men, neither be afraid of their ravelings. Deuteronomy chapter 6 verse 7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. Page 246. What God say about his word, pray. Joshua chapter 24 verse 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom ye will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served, that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua chapter 24, verse 19. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is an holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. Psalm chapter 99, verse 5. Exalt ye the Lord our God, and worship at his footstool, for he is holy. 1 Chronicles 28, verse 2. Then David the king stood up upon his feet, and said, Hear me, my brethren, and my people. As for me, I had in my heart to build an house of rest, for the ark of the covenant of the Lord, and for the footstool of our God, and had made ready for the building. Second Samuel chapter 7, verse 2. That the king said unto Nathan the prophet, See now, I dwell in an house of cedar, but the ark of God dwelleth within curtains. Exodus chapter 26, verse 1. Moreover, thou shalt make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twined linen, and blue, and purple, and scarlet. With cherubims of cunning work shalt thou make them. Acts chapter 7, verse 44. Our fathers had the tabernacles of witness in the wilderness, as he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 5. Who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. What the mouth of what God said but his word, pray. Exodus chapter 25, verse 40. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount. Numbers chapter 8, verse 4. And this work of the candlestick was of beaten gold, unto the shaft thereof, unto the flowers thereof, was beaten work, according unto the pattern which the Lord had showed Moses. So he made the candlestick. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 2. A minister of the sanctuary and of the true tabernacle, which the Lord pitched and not man. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 3. For every high priest is ordained to offer gifts and sacrifices. Wherefore it is of necessity that this man have somewhat also to offer. Ephesians chapter 5, 2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savour. Page 249. John 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savour. John chapter 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet smelling savour. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 4. For if he were on earth, he should not be a priest, seeing that there are priests that offer gifts according to the law. Hebrews, page 250, Hebrews chapter 8, verse 5. who serve unto the example and shadow of heavenly things, as Moses was admonished of God when he was about to make the tabernacle. For see, saith he, that thou make all things according to the pattern showed to thee in the mount. Exodus chapter 25, verse 40. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount. Numbers chapter 8, verse 4. And this work of the candlestick was of beaten gold, unto the shaft thereof, unto the flowers thereof, was beaten work according unto the pattern which the Lord had showed Moses. So he made the candlestick. Psalms chapter 99, verse 5. Psalms 99, verse 5. Exalt ye the Lord our God, and worship at his footstool, for he is holy. Isaiah chapter 66, verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, the heaven is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that ye build unto me? And where is the place of my rest? Page 251. What did God say about his word praise? Psalms 99, verse 9. Exalt the Lord our God, and worship at his holy hill, for the Lord our God is holy. Joshua chapter 24, verse 21. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve the Lord. Judges chapter 11, verse 24. Wilt not thou possess that which Chemosh thy God giveth thee to possess? So whomsoever the Lord our God shall drive out from before us, them will we possess. Psalm chapter 44, verse 2. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. Exodus chapter 15, verse 17. Thou shalt bring them in, and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. Page 252. What the mouth of voice of God say about his word, pray. Page 252. Psalms chapter 44, verse 2. Psalms chapter 44, verse 2. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Havites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations, greater and mightier than thou. Joshua chapter 10, verse 42. And all these kings and their land did Joshua take at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. Psalms chapter 44, verse 3. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but thy right hand, and thine arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Page 253. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 37. Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 37. And because he loved thy fathers, therefore he chose their seed after them, and brought thee out into his sight with his mighty power out of Egypt. 2 Kings 3, verse 14. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 14. And Elijah said unto the Lord of hosts, and Elijah said, As the Lord of hosts liveth, before whom I stand, surely were it not that I regard the presence of Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, I would not look toward thee, nor see thee. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 15. But now bring me a minstrel. And it came to pass, when the minstrel played, that the hand of the Lord came upon him. 1 Samuel chapter 10, verse 5. After that thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place with a psaltery and a tabret and a pipe and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 1. Follow after charity and desire spiritual gifts, but rather that ye may prophesy. Galatians chapter 5:14. For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 18. Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Lord. Romans chapter 12, verse 17. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savour. Page 255. John chapter 13:34. John chapter 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savour. John 13:34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another. Ephesians 5:2. And walk in love as Christ also hath loved us, and hath given himself for us an offering and a sacrifice to God for a sweet-smelling savour. Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 1. And it came to pass in the 6th year, in the 6th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I sat in mine house, and the elders of Judah sat before me, that the hand of the Lord God fell there upon me. Here's 256. 2 Kings chapter 3:16. And he said, Thus saith the Lord, make this valley full of ditches. 2 Kings chapter 3:17. For thus saith the Lord, ye shall not see wind, neither shall ye see rain, yet that valley shall be filled with water, that ye may drink, both ye and your cattle and your beasts. Psalm chapter 107, verse 35. He turneth the wilderness into a standing water, and dry ground into water springs. 2 Kings chapter 3:18. And this is but a light thing in the sight of the Lord. He will deliver the Moabites also into your hand. 2 Kings chapter 3:19. And ye shall smite every fenced city, and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells, of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. All right. Um, Again, 2 Kings chapter 3:19, and he shall smite every fenced city and every choice city, and shall fell every good tree, and stop all wells of water, and mar every good piece of land with stones. 1 Samuel 15 verse 3. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Page 257. What the mouth of voice of God say about his word, pray. Exodus chapter 20 verse 5. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Numbers chapter 14 verse 18. The Lord is long suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Job chapter 5 verse 4. His children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate, neither is there any to deliver them. Psalm chapter 79 verse 8. O remember not against us former iniquities. Let thy tender mercy speedily prevent us, for we are brought very low. Let the mouth and voice of God say about his word, praise. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 20. And it came to pass in the morning, when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 21. And when all the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, they gathered all that were able to put on armor, and upward and stood in the border. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 22. And they rose up early in the morning, and the sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw the water on the other side as red as blood. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 23. And they said, this is blood. The kings are surely slain, and they have smitten one another. Now therefore, Moab to the spoil. Page 259. What God said about his word, pray. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 24. And when they came to the camp of Israel, the Israelites rose up and smote the Moabites, so that they fled before them. But they went forward, smiting the Moabites even in their country. 2 Kings chapter 3 verse 25. And they beat down the cities, and on every good piece of land cast every man his stone, and filled it, and they stopped all the wells of water, and felled all the good trees. Only in Kirharaseth left they the stones thereof. Howbeit, the slingers went about it, and smote it. 2 Kings chapter 3, verse 26. And when the king of Moab saw that the battle was too sore for him, he took with him 700 men that drew swords to break through even unto the king of Edom, but they could not. Page 260. 2 Kings chapter 3:27. Then he took his eldest son that should have reigned in his stead, and offered him for a burnt offering upon the wall. And there was great indignation against Israel, and they departed from him, and returned to their own land. 2 Kings chapter 5, verse 1. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. Esther chapter 9, verse 4. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. All right, we can break off there.